Hey, my kitchen peeps, how are y'all doing this afternoon? It is a beautiful day. I'm a hot mess. I've been outside in my garden weeding and transplanting and doing all kinds of fun stuff, so I look ridiculous. I have had a shower though, if that helps. But I needed to get inside and fix some supper, and I'm doing another new recipe. I actually did a video this morning of our new breakfast recipe. Posted that a few days ago, if I remember right, and now I'm trying another new one. So Mondays are my day off, and I love them. I like to experiment. So anyway, today we're doing a chicken dish, and it's another one of those, excuse me, I have something in my eyeball. I found this recipe forever ago. I've had it in my little stash of recipes one of these days I'm gonna try this. Well, today is that day. So it is kind of a smothered chicken with artichokes and mushrooms. So if you don't like artichokes and mushrooms, you might want to turn this off, and I'm sorry, there's nothing for you to see here, but I love them both, and especially fresh mushrooms. And look at these beauties. Ooh, creminis. And yeah, that's kind of a baby portobello. It's more like a teenager cremini. If you didn't know, cremini mushrooms are just baby portobellos. So when they're little babies, they're creminis. When they get ginormous, which this one's kind of in between, they're portobellos. So I don't know if this is a teenager cremini or a baby portobello. I don't know, but I'm using it the same way, whatever. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We gotta mix up some seasonings and rub it on the chicken. And I have my fave, my happy. Got some leg quarters here. The recipe called for a whole chicken. It's like whatever, we like leg quarters, we like dark meat, so that's what I'm using. But we're gonna mix salt, pepper, and paprika, rub it on the chicken, brown it real good in a skillet in butter, see right back there, boop. And then it goes into a casserole dish or a Dutch oven, and I'm gonna use that deep cast iron, put my cast iron lid on it, pop it in the oven. And then you make kind of saute some mushrooms down, add a little stock. The recipe called for chicken stock. I don't have any thawed out, but I do have beef bone broth thawed out. So I'm using that because, repeat after me, boys and girls, it's my kitchen. And I thought that sounded good. So I had a little bit I needed to use. I'm using it. So it'll have beef bone broth, a little bit of sherry, and then you nestle the artichokes around the chicken, pour that mushroom sherry sauce over there, and in the oven it goes. Doesn't that sound good? And then I'm going to, oh, my son's coming home. Then I'm going to fix some chard, and we'll have some corn, and there's our meal. Hold that thought. Okay, my son and his buddy busted in, so sorry about that. But let's get back to it. I'm gonna turn this down. Hopefully it won't fall. Ah, beautiful. Okay, so we need, that's pepper, not salt, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And there's my kind of chunky salt. I'll bust it up in a second. 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Oop, that was a little much. I'll do that one a little less. Now, I'm gonna throw a glove on just so I don't have googly hands. You wanna mix this, and then I'm busting up my little chunks of pink Himalayan salt, because you know my salt is real salt, no anti-caking agents, and otherwise known as doo-doo in my salt. All right, so here's my leg quarters. Thaw those out. I'm gonna put a couple in my bowl. Lay this down before it turns over. And I'm just gonna sprinkle some of this on here, just to kind of halfway, you know, separate it and spread it out. Put the other two, and then sprinkle the rest. And then I'm going to just kind of massage it in. Nothing super special, nothing super exciting. Just want to get your seasonings on. So flip these over. Whoops, don't want to tear my skin off. Golly, that's some of the best. The best part, if you have really high quality chicken like my happy, or any other local farmer you know that raises pastured chickens. You don't want to lose that skin. There's all kinds of goodie in there. All right, so that's that. Now we're going to move over to the stove so we can brown these. So hang on, I'm going to take this, stop doing my Michael Jackson impersonation and move the camera. We'll be right back. All right, how's that? Can we see good? Got the stove on. Actually, I need to turn my oven on. Well, no, I'm going to wait because I don't want to pop this in the oven right away because I got to wait till my husband gets home. He is driving his school bus this afternoon. So, got to let him get home, or at least closer to when he'll be getting home, and then I'll get it in the oven. All right, so we are going to brown the chicken, and I'm using the skillet that I fried some bacon in yesterday and cooked my eggs in this morning because it had bacon grease in it, and it's all good. I didn't wash it. I just kind of poured out some of the bacon grease and went on about my business. And if any of y'all are old enough to remember, that's how our moms and our grandmothers used to do it. Bacon grease is the cure-all for everything. So it's all good. And there's our real pastured butter. I love that stuff. Let me get this dirty bowl out of the way. Okay. So we are going to brown this. And that will be watching paint dry, kind of. So I'm not going to make y'all sit here and watch this. I'll just kind of bring the camera in and off and on while it's happening so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to cut up the mushrooms. The recipe says to quarter them, but because I've got some that are so big, I'm going to cut them probably in like little 1-inch spears or chunks or pieces or whatever you want to call it. Just to have them a little bit smaller. So I'm going to pause this, start cutting the mushrooms, and then we'll come back and I'll let y'all see what it looks like. So hold tight. All right, let me show you this real quick. So this would be like a typical size cremini, quartered. Hopefully you can see that. This was that big old teenager cremini, and I just cut it in, cut it in half and then cut it in some little kind of wedgy slices so that they're similar in size. I mean, it's not going to be exact. It's not a science, but just similar. So that's what I'm doing with my mushrooms. Okay, so these have literally just been going for a few minutes. I'd say maybe 6 or 7. Ooh, I don't want to tear that skin. See how nice and brown they are? So pretty. The colors are so pretty. Turn this last one over and we'll get the other side real nice. See how lovely. We'll brown this, and I'm actually going to time it this time so I can let y'all know, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, it has literally been 3 minutes, and see, look how beautiful that is. So I'm going to go ahead and put my leg quarters in this pan. This deep cast iron is actually called a chicken fryer. And my cast iron Dutch oven over here is full of oil from where I fried some chicken, and I'm just being, I guess, kind of lazy and not emptying it. I don't feel like going through all that hassle of draining off the oil because it's not used up, and I can drain it and strain it off and put it back in the container and use it again and blah blah blah. I don't feel like doing that right now, so we're being a bum. But now we have our chicken all nestled in. Doesn't that look nice? So we're going to add the mushrooms to the skillet. I turned it off just because I didn't want my butter to burn, and I wanted to be able to get the mushrooms in here without being in too big of a rush and making a big fat mess, and I'm kind of apt to do that. All right. So let me turn my stove back on. I'm going to turn it down low because I'm not trying to just cook these mushrooms to death. Ooh, y'all. Sauteed mushrooms in butter, much less chicken fat butter, it's got to be the best thing ever. Oh, and you know what? I just about screwed up. Yes, the recipe says to add another couple tablespoons of butter. I love that. So let me get that really quick. Okay. That's probably not quite 2 tablespoons, but it's just gonna be fine. So, we're gonna cook these down, saute them in the butter, and I'm gonna do my best not to, did I cut that one? Yeah, it's just not coming apart. There we go. Do my best to not just eat every one of them straight out of the daggone pan, because I really like to. These need to go about 5 minutes. So, as is our usual MO, I'll pause so you don't have to watch mushroom saute. I'm going to set my timer for 5, and we'll be back in a minute, or in 5. Okay, we're back. 5 minutes is up. Don't those look amazing? I swear to you, I could sit down with a fork and just go through this whole pan. But I will also tell you, I added 2 more tablespoons of butter. I had gone back to the back to change because I realized y'all could see my big, fat, nasty self with those ugly old ratty shorts I had on. And I apologize profusely for that. That's disgusting. I know nobody wants to see that. So I went to put on some pants. And when I came back, it was dry, even though it was on really, really low. So, anywho, they are sauteed and they look phenomenal. So now we are going to sprinkle in 2 tablespoons of flour. And brown rice flour is my go-to. So, get that in there. Well, so we got that. We've got what should be our chicken stock. But like I said earlier, I have beef bone broth, which I think is going to be amazing. I quite honestly use those a lot of times interchangeably, depending on what I have in my refrigerator. If I've already got one of them thawed out, I don't fool with thawing out another one. I use what I've got. All right, I'm going to turn this up just a tad. So we're going to add our, look at that. Ooh. I love that stuff. And then we need, I think it's 3 tablespoons of sherry. So 1, 2, 3. Sound like the owl on those sucker commercials from years ago. You older peeps will know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, I'm gonna turn it up. We're going to stir this around a bit. Dang, that smells divine. I mean, butter, mushroom, sherry, bone broth. What is not to smell divine about that? Okay, we're going to simmer this for a few minutes. Just let it get good and hot and kind of... it'll thicken up just a tiny bit. So I've got my stove on medium. I don't know what's on my fingernail right there. All right. And it also says season with salt and pepper. I love that. Very generic, but that's okay. So I'm going to just put a few pinches of salt, maybe about 3. Because remember, we've got some on the chicken, but that's it. And then probably a couple pinches of my coarse black pepper. Yum. All right, so while this is simmering for just a couple of minutes, we want to get our artichokes. I had a can of quartered artichoke hearts. You know, not marinated, not in oil or anything like that. These are just in water with a little salt on them. And we're going to, let me turn this around. Let's see if I bring this up here. Can you see that? You can see it a little bit. I'll pull back a little bit. How's that? Okay. So we're going to just arrange the artichokes around the chicken. You know, whoopie-ding-ding. Just kind of place them in there. I may have eaten 1 or 2 straight out of the strainer because I love artichokes. I love them in salad. I love them on charcuterie boards. I love them straight out of the can. I love them any way you want to have them. So, just kind of mix those around, or not mix, but spread them around. There we go. And Then, grab my towel, turn that down some. I don't want it to get too thick. Holy moly, this is gonna be yum. Then I'm gonna pour this over my chicken, and then it goes in a 375-degree oven. The recipe, again, it's so poorly written, says 40 minutes to an hour. Well, that's broad, isn't it? So I'm probably going to set it for about 45 minutes and then check. You just want to make sure that the joints are good, and if you can move the joints of the chicken or the leg and the thigh real well, it's done. So I'm probably going to cover the camera up doing this, but you'll see what it looks like when it's finished. Wow, sir. And you know what I think I'm going to do? And this is just, I don't know. I'm going to add a little tiny bit of water, only because my mushroom sherry, golly, that looks tasty, sauce is really thick, which is good. Your chicken's going to release some juices, and that's really, really good. But I don't want it to be too thick where there's a chance of anything scorching. And beef bone broth is typically a little thicker than chicken stock. Not typically, it definitely is. So I'm going to give it maybe about a quarter cup of water, just so there's a little water on the bottom to help steam and make sure we don't have anything burn. And then this is going to go in the oven, like I said, 375. I'm going to do 45 minutes, and then I'm going to check it. And I'll come back when it's all done and show y'all the final product. I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. 2 new recipes in one day. Who'd have thunk it? So, hold tight. Okay, sorry for the delay. I took it out at 45 minutes and it wasn't quite done. So I put it in for another 15, and I think that did it. Goodness gracious, this smells good. Oh yeah, that did it. That joint is done. There's no blood. Yay! So there you go. Chicken with avocado, listen to me, I'm starving, I can't even think, with artichoke and a mushroom gravy. Yum. We're fixing to chow down. And I've got some creamed spinach and some corn, and we're going to pig out. So, that's it. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think.